games can be stories of epic heroes. They can be a way to experience characters and emotions that you cannot in the real world. What they cannot be is predictable. We cannot know for certain what the players will decide to do or how, and we can't stop and replan the session every time the game progresses in an unexpected way. The players' choices happen during the session, and so we must adapt, improvise, and move on in order to keep the game going. That is why learning how to improvise and to react quickly are important skills for a game master. In this lesson, we will provide you with a set of improvisational tools that will help you deal with surprises during the session and to continue running it as if everything the player did was completely expected. Trust me, I've been performing and teaching improvisational theater for years, and once you learn and practice some basic tools, you stop fearing the unexpected and begin to look forward to being surprised. Our first tool is the most fundamental tool for improvisation, and it is called yes and. Let's break this tool down to its two components, yes and, well, and. The yes part means that we should roll with the suggestions our players make during the game. By the way, these suggestions are often disguised as questions, so keep an eye out for opportunities to answer yes to questions such as, can I find a set of guard uniforms? Or, is there a window facing north? In the context of role-playing games, I have named this rule the chandelier rule, after an incident when one of my players asked if there was a chandelier in the throne room. The chandelier rule states that if there isn't any important reason to say no to a player's suggestion, we should say yes. The idea behind this rule is that if a player asks about a chandelier, they likely have an idea involving a chandelier. Maybe they want to swing from the chandelier. Maybe they want to drop it over a guard's head. Maybe they want to amplify its light using magic. I don't know. But I do know that what I'm interested to see is how their cool ideas manifest in the game. So I will answer, yes, there is a chandelier. The second part of the yes and tool is the end. This means that accepting a player's suggestion is not enough. We should add something to it. So if a player asks if there's a chandelier in the room, I would answer, yes, and it's made of sparkling silver threads holding glowing orbs. We should always add something beyond the mere yes when answering players' questions. One of the main benefits of using this tool is that it places you in a collaborative state of mind and helps you expand the game world. Before the player's question, we only had a throne room. After the question, we had a chandelier with some extra details that makes the world around the character seem more real. Remember that you don't always have to yes and. As game masters, we often know more information about the game world than the players do. If I know that the Count is in fact a vampire, and my players suggest they should meet the Count at noon rather than night, I would say no, because I know that a vampire would not agree to that. So only yes and if it doesn't violate the integrity of the game world. A complementary tool that comes with yes and is called no but, and it is designed to allow the game master to deny a player's request but leave room for other development. In this way, we offer a new suggestion instead of the one we denied. Going back to my previous example, if my players ask me if the vampire Count will meet them at noon, I will answer no, but he invites you over for dinner just past sundown today. A great way to practice yes ending is to find a friend and practice adding details to a specific item or NPC. Start with a basic description of the element, such as, it is a sword. Then, alternate replying to each other's suggestions in the format of, not only is it X, it is also Y. For example, you could say, not only is it a sword, it is also very sharp. And the other person might reply, not only is it very sharp, it also has blue etchings on it. Not only does it have blue etchings on it, it was also wielded by Queen Helena. Not only was it wielded by Queen Helena, it was also lost during the era of the Red Knights, etc., etc. By continuously yes-anding, the element you have started with grows into something new, something with details, and maybe a history behind it. Something that is greater than anything either one of you could have come up with on your own. The next tool to help us in dealing with the unexpected is to follow the next logical step. Oftentimes when we are GMing, we feel as though we have to come up with elaborate plots, amazing comebacks, or surprising twists on the fly. This expectation is counterproductive. It tends to stop us in our tracks when we need to respond to an unexpected event in our game. Here is the secret. There is nothing wrong with being cliché or predictable in a role-playing game. Remember the first rule of game mastering? You will not run the adventure as you planned it. Even if you set out to be predictable and cliché, it won't end up that way. When confronted with a surprising turn of events, just ask yourself, what is the next boring, logical thing that would probably happen? Your players will make it interesting. All you need to do is set the stage. The players threaten a local merchant for a discount, the merchant gives in. The players insult a nobleman, the nobleman gets angry and leaves. Once the session is over and you have some free time, you can think about the repercussions of what happened. Maybe the merchant complained to the king. Maybe the nobleman hired an assassin for payback. The interesting parts don't have to happen mid-session. This approach also works well when you reach a part of the adventure that you haven't planned yet. For example, the party decides to go to the necromancer's lab and enter a random room. Go for the simplest solution in any building. It's a kitchen, it's a bathroom, it's a guest room. Just because this building is occupied by Bob the evil necromancer doesn't mean that Bob doesn't like to cook or shower or have friends over. Our third tool deals with employing one of the most underutilized resources a game master has, and that is our players. When I was a novice game master, I never consulted my players about anything because I thought it was my job as game masters to be in charge of everything apart from the player characters. But that doesn't have to be the case. Nowadays, when I draw an encounter map in a wizard's lab, I will ask my players, okay guys, tell me 3 things that you might expect to see in a magical lab. And after my players provide suggestions, I incorporate them into the encounter, mixing my original prep work with their suggestions. You can also use your players in more subtle ways. Remember, everything your players say is a suggestion. It doesn't matter if they say it because you prompted them or because they simply talk about what interests them. If they say something that sparks an idea, run with it. For example, while the characters are waiting outside the closed room, one of my players might say something along the lines of, "Oh, I hope there aren't any fire demons behind this door." And even though I haven't planned using fire demons, I might say, "Dude, you read my mind." As you open the door, you can clearly see 3 fire demons huddled around an icicle and talking among themselves in their hideous language. This might add a bit of extra work for us, but our next tool will help with that. The last tool in our toolkit for supporting improvisation is for those moments when we need some game elements mid-session but don't have any time to look up specific monsters or items. In those cases, you only need to remember the motto, reskin and reuse. Reskin commonly means to use the same monsters as you've used before and only change their appearance or description to make them seem like something else. If I decide the characters will meet a new race of giants, I don't always have the time to go over numerous monster manuals or online stat blocks to find the perfect match for what I have in mind, especially not mid-session. Most of the time, it's enough to take a generic stat block for a similar creature and just describe it as something else. The stats for the new race of giants can be similar to the old stats, even though they look very different. Let's say that during a session, I improvise the existence of something called an ancient snow hunter, which is about to attack the party. How can I have the ancient snow hunter attack the party? I just invented them. What should I do? Well, I'll just use a dire wolf stat block for now, and maybe change the type of damage from bite to cold damage, and voila! Ancient Snow Hunter. The purpose of these tools is to help us deal with those problematic moments mid-session when we need to address an unexpected turn of events. Sure, it's a lot easier when things are going according to plan and our prep work can help us shine, but as we've established, the unexpected happens. And when it does, being able to improvise and continue the session effectively is key in maintaining the momentum of the game and in preserving the player's suspension of disbelief. So, try to yes-and your player's suggestion. Don't be afraid to make simple, logical choices in response to the changes. Use your player's suggestions to enhance your scenes. And remember to reskin and reuse. Use these tools and your players will constantly wonder how you are always prepared for any decision they make. Our next lesson deals with ruling on the fly. See you there.